Be me, call me Tyler now. 29, when this whole disaster finally burned itself out, had what I thought was a pretty normal life. Steady job, apartment routines, and this one female best friend I'd known since we were basically kids, been close forever. Teenage years, college years, all of it for a long time. I was the classic idiot completely in love with her. She was funny, intense, opinionated, always talking, like every emotion was part of some larger social theory. I thought she was incredible. We spent a ridiculous amount of time together, almost inseparable on paper. Only problem was for her, I was never a guy she might actually want. I was the safe one, the reliable one, the fixed utility bill of her social life. I kept telling myself maybe someday she'd see me differently, which was premium grade delusion on my part. Things really started showing their true shape, maybe a year or two. Before the end, I remember one night, especially clearly, almost 1 a.m. On a Tuesday, I'm in bed, have work early, lights off phone, starts ringing. It's her answer immediately because you always assume late night panic means something serious. Family emergency accident, something real. Nope guy, she'd been dating for about 3 weeks, stopped replying to her, and now I was emergency emotional services, spent the next 2 hours listening to a full forensic reconstruction of their last date. Every text, every emoji, every imagined hidden meaning. She goes on this huge rant about how he's obviously a narcissist, says he has intimacy issues, fragile masculinity, fear of emotional depth, every therapy buzzword in the catalog. My role in this was obvious: confirm, soothe, agree, tell her she's too good for him. By the time we hung up, it was past 3 and I had to be up in a few hours. Told myself that's what best friends do. Turns out what best friends apparently did in our situation was whatever she needed and nothing I needed, because that call was just the opening act. Next week my lunch break gets hijacked by another emergency. Her car dies at a mechanic on the far side of town. She can't possibly take a bus because buses are gross. So I spend my only break driving through lunch traffic to rescue her. Ride back is just her complaining. Mechanic was condescending. Mechanic was mansplaining. Mechanic apparently insulted her entire gender by explaining what a serpentine belt was. I just drive and nod and burn my whole lunch hour on this drop her off. Don't really get a thank you, more like a distracted thanks, talk later. While she's already halfway out the door, I go back to work, hungry and irritated and weirdly ashamed for being irritated. Then came the constant little favors she'd send. Dressing room pictures asking what outfit looked best for some date. I'd answer honestly, she'd ignore me, choose the other one, then tell me I didn't understand style. Anyway, one weekend, she buys one of those huge nightmare bookshelves from the Swedish furniture place. Guess who got invited over to build it? Sat on her floor for 4 hours with an Allen key and an instruction manual clearly authored by Satan entire time. She's on the couch scrolling her phone. Every now and then she'd glance up and say something deeply helpful, like, "Are you sure that piece goes there?" or complain that the instructions were obviously written by men and therefore intentionally confusing. Once I finally finish and my back is basically powder, she says she's ordering pizza to celebrate. I actually think, wow, that's nice, pizza arrives. She pats around her bag and says she left her wallet in another purse, asks if I can cover it, and she'll totally pay me back. I knew in the moment that money was spiritually dead, paid anyway. Ate pizza in silence and went home, feeling like a handyman, with emotional overtime, and that was the whole relationship in miniature. Every new guy from a dating app who disappointed her became my job. My phone was her dumping ground for long monologues about failed men. Each guy was a fresh thesis on why modern masculinity was broken. I became therapist, tech support, moving service, handyman, driver, whatever function she needed in the moment. But if I ever tried to talk about my own problems, she'd do this little nod, offer one line of sympathy, and instantly reroute back to herself. I could say work was killing me. She'd say, "Wow, that's rough." Then immediately tell me some guy used the wrong punctuation in a text and ask what it meant. After enough of this, I started feeling completely hollowed out. Feelings for her were still there, but they were getting buried under resentment. Eventually, I convinced myself I needed closure, which is a fancy way of saying, I made a bad decision. While emotionally dehydrated, I invited her to dinner, not floor pizza, not coffee, real restaurant, maybe if the setting changed. The whole script would change. She was excited probably because a nice meal was involved. We sit down, order food hands, sweating through the menu. After the mains show up, I just say, tell her I've had feelings for her for years. Tell her I value our friendship, but wondered if it could be more. Tell her I think she's amazing. And I'd like the chance to be something other than the backup generator in her life. All very earnest, probably very clumsy. Then I wait, and her whole face changes. Warm expression just vanishes, replaced with this look of disappointment, like I just pissed on a family heirloom. She sets her fork down and gives one long, dramatic sigh, then says two words that still make me laugh now, because of how brutally stupid they were. You too, that's it. Like I was just another disappointing species event. Then comes the lecture. Says she thought I was different, says she valued our friendship, because it was pure and safe. Says by making it romantic, I was turning it into something transactional and possessive. Says men always ruin things by making them about attraction. Says I violated her safe space. Final line is, I love you as a friend. Please don't make this weird. I don't even know how to describe how that felt. Not just rejection, moral indictment, like having feelings after years of emotional servitude was somehow a crime. Rest of dinner was a funeral. With pasta check comes, she stares out the window, like financial obligations or weather. I pay, of course I pay. Drive her home in complete silence, she mutters goodnight and gets out fast. I go home, sit in the dark on my couch, and replay the whole thing on loop safe space transaction. You too. And then something finally snaps clean. Not dramatic, just clear. She wasn't my friend. Friends don't turn your vulnerability into inconvenience. Friends don't extract constant labor from you and then act betrayed when you reveal. You had a heart attached to the labor. Our friendship was really a service contract where only one party provided service. I stood up, opened my phone, looked at her name for 1 second, and blocked it. Then did the same thing across every app, messages, socials. Everything total digital amputation expected. Fallout didn't care. Slept better that night than I had in years. Next few days were shockingly peaceful. No 2 a.m. Emotional hostage calls. No random errands, no dating autopsies. Then the new numbers start texting. First, just confusion, is your phone broken? Then mutual acquaintance messages saying she's trying to reach me and says, it's urgent, ignored. Then her tone changes. Says ghosting her is immature. Says after everything she's shared, she can't believe I'd do this. Every message somehow manages to make my choice feel smarter. Not once does she ask whether I was okay. After the dinner, not once asks if I needed space. All about her access to my attention. Disappearing, I stay silent with all the time and energy suddenly back in my possession. I do the cliché thing, and it actually works. Join a gym. Start lifting. Start moving again. At first, I'm weak and awkward and sore. Keep going. Anyway, every session feels like reclaiming some piece of myself that had been rented out for years. Also get back into hiking, which I used to love. Before all my weekends became available for her emergencies. Join a local hiking group online. Force myself to show up. One of the best calls I ever made. People are chill, air is clean. No one needs an emotional court stenographer. That's where I meet Brooke. We start talking on a steep section of trail, and it just feels easy. No games, no performance, no weird power balance after the hike. A bunch of us grab coffee. I sit with Brooke, conversation flows without effort. When the check comes, I automatically reach for my wallet to cover both. Before I can, she already has her card down. Smiles and says, she's got it. Such a tiny thing hits like a revelation. Not because I needed free coffee, because it was the first time in forever. Someone met me, instead of using me, we end up splitting it, because I insisted exchange numbers. She texts me later that same day saying she had fun. A few days later, I ask her out properly. She says yes, immediately. First date is amazing. No elaborate strategy, no decoding, just two adults who actually like each other over the next few weeks. I realize she's kind, thoughtful, and deeply self-sufficient. One night my laptop dies and I spend the evening fixing it. Mention that to her casually on a call. Next day she shows up at my place after work, carrying a giant tray of homemade baked ziti. Says she figured I probably didn't cook. If I was busy repairing my computer, I honestly didn't know what to do with that. Nobody had given me something that thoughtful without some invisible invoice attached. Relationship grows from there, in the most boring and perfect way possible, mutual respect. Shared effort, real curiosity about each other, first time in my adult life. I feel seen as a person, instead of a utility belt. With feelings eventually, old friend fades into background, static months go by. Total silence. I think the chapter is closed. Of course it isn't about 6 months later. Brooke and I take our first real trip together. Week away, mountains, some beach time, great weather, great photos. Once we're back, she makes a little online album. I post one of my favorite shots too. Didn't think anything of it, profile mostly private. Anyway, apparently private still leaves enough cracks for old disasters to crawl through. About a week later, I'm leaving the gym and hear someone yelling my name across the parking lot. Voice sounds familiar and furious turn around. And there she is, old friend haven't seen or spoken to her in half a year. And she's marching at me like she's about to issue a warrant. Face red eyes wild, immediately starts shouting before I can even ask how she found me. Says so. This is why I've been ignoring her points at my chest, and says, I threw away years of friendship for some Barbie doll, mentions the photos she's clearly seen. The vacation post somewhere asks how I could abandon her abandonment. That word is what finally drains all the patience out of me, because now she's listing the things she supposedly suffered through. Without me, her car broke down months back and she had to pay for a tow truck herself. Her mom had surgery and she had no one to talk to. She needed me and I was gone. The whole rant is just one gigantic confession that I had always functioned as unpaid staff. Finally, she says she trusted me, and I threw her away the second. Someone prettier came along for 1 second. The old instinct tries to return. Apologize, calm her down. Then I look at her and realize she's still doing it. Still making me the system she plugs herself into. Still talking like my life exists for her convenience. So, I answer, tell her she's right about one thing. I did find someone better, not because of looks, because Brooke is an actual partner. Then I go all the way in, tell her our friendship was a one-way street. Ask when she ever called, just to see how I was. Ask when she ever listened to my life without trying to get back to hers. Remind her I was her therapist, driver, handyman, crisis hotline, furniture assembler. All because I cared, and what I got in return was a lecture about violating a safe space when I admitted I loved her. Tell her she talks about the one time her car broke down, but I've been rescuing her from life logistics for years. Remind her that when my dad was in the hospital once, she gave me one pity sentence before returning to dating app drama. She actually flinches at that because she remembers. Then I tell her the difference between her and Brooke. Brooke supports me too. It's reciprocal. It's respect. And my old friend has no idea what respect is because she doesn't really see other people, except in terms of what they can supply. Final line just comes out naturally. You didn't lose a friend, you lost an employee who finally quit. And that lands like, physically lands. All the anger drains out of her face at once. No comeback, no buzzwords, no clever moral reversal, just stunned silence. I don't wait around for Act 2. Get in my car and leave, watch her get smaller in the mirror. By the time I reach home, I don't even feel angry anymore, just lighter, like some invisible backpack full of rocks finally got cut loose. Brooke is there, immediately knows something happened. I tell her everything, years of it. The late calls, the errands, the confession, the confrontation. She just listens, no smugness. No, told you so. When I finish, she hugs me and says, she's sorry. I went through all that and glad I stood up for myself. That's it. Simple, real enough. Heard one last update a few months later from a mutual acquaintance, apparently. Old friend tried to rally the group around her version of events, told everyone I betrayed her and broke her heart. Some people were sympathetic for about 5 minutes then, without me as the central resource. She started leaning on everybody else at full volume. Same endless favors, same emotional dumping, same inability to care about anyone else's problems. People distanced themselves, fast. Calls, unanswered, invites, stopped eventually. Her social media turned into one long, bitter sermon. Men are trash. Nobody is loyal. Friendship is dead. Dating is broken world, unfair. Huge shrine to her own victimhood, surrounded by a tiny echo chamber of equally miserable people, clapping for each other in the dark, felt a flicker of pity. Didn't stay because she built that cage herself and kept decorating it instead of unlocking it. As for me, life is good. Brooke and I moved in together. Relationship isn't dramatic or cinematic. It's easy, supportive, comfortable, mutual. Turns out life gets a lot better when you remove the person, treating your energy like a public utility. Sometimes I think back to the version of me who would have answered any late-night call from her without hesitation. Honestly feels like remembering somebody else's life.